So this is my talk. Every system has two sets of rules. The rules as they are intended or commonly perceived, and the actual rules, also known as reality. And in most complex systems, the gap between these two sets of rules is huge. Sometimes we catch a glimpse of the truth and discover the actual rules of a system. Once the actual rules are known, it may be possible to perform miracles, things which violate the perceived rules. That quote is from a piece by Paul Boucher, the creator of Gmail and AdSense, and it's called Applied Philosophy, also known as hacking. And I like it a lot because what he calls miracles are also known as hacks. And so hacking means to take advantage of the gap between the written rules and the actual rules. So if you're looking at a system and there's no gap between those two, then it's not possible to do something surprising because everyone already knows what is actually possible. And so it's not possible to hack. But in practice, like you know this, the documentation may lie. And specs are not usually implemented correctly or completely. Or even when they are implemented correctly, sometimes the specs themselves can contain surprising behavior or edge cases that the writers did not consider. So maybe you've experienced docs lying, firsthand. Maybe when a documented API worked, differently than you expected it to, or something like that. And in these situations, it can be mildly irritating or frustrating, but you can sort of solve it by just looking at the source code and figuring out how to use the API by like verifying directly. But most of the times, these issues are just small annoyances. But when dealing with security, a gap between the expectations of the programmer who designed the system and reality can actually be a serious security issue. And so depending on which side of that you're on, it can also be an opportunity to have a little bit of fun. So my name is Feross. I work on WebTorrent, a torrent app for the web, and Standard.js, a linter that catches programming errors and enforces consistent code style in your projects. And also, recently, what's happening with the cable? Some issues here. What is this? Should I try unplugging and plugging it back in? Maybe that will help. It doesn't look like it helped. Oh, there we go. OK, cool. Yeah, sorry about that. So also, I recently built WebTorrent Desktop with some friends, and that's a desktop torrent app that can stream torrents instantly. And recently we just passed the 1 million download mark, which is pretty exciting. I've been doing open source since 2014, and I switched to working on open source full-time in 2015. So quite a while. You probably use some of my NPM packages. And before that, I started a company called PeerCDN, which was eventually acquired by Yahoo. And before that, I spent a lot of time in college playing around with computers, and one of my favorite things to do is to try to surprise people and delight them, usually with some kind of security or some kind of hack. So I love to learn the true rules of a system, to push those rules to their limits, and to surprise people. So I'm going to tell you a little story, one thing I did while I was in college. So we have these computer labs made of iMacs, and students do their CS assignments or their other homework on these computers. But I discovered one day that when I was sitting at one of the computers, there's a little label on the computer with a name. And it was something like lab-computer- and then some number. And I realized that number is actually, or that name is actually the host name of the computer. And so I was like, I wonder if I can SSH into this computer. And so I typed in SSH, the host name, and it worked. And then I realized, the computer next to mine has a number that's one bigger than mine, so maybe I can SSH into that one. And it worked. And so then I was like, OK. So I counted the numbers, and I saw there was someone sitting on the other side of the lab. And I was like, OK, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. OK, that's the number of their computer. SSH'd into it, and I couldn't do anything to their session because they're using the computer and I'm on a different user. But there's only one set of speakers on a computer. So I could run the say command and talk to them and freak them out. And this worked really great. I could say things like, hey, stop pressing my keys so hard. and they're like, what the hell is going on? Am I going crazy? And then they turn the volume down, and then you use AppleScript to increase the volume back up and talk to them again. And you just do this, and it's so fun. And then you learn how to do the multi-SSH command and SSH into all the computers in the lab at the same time and talk in unison and really freak someone out. A lot of good fun. So I think playing around is one of the best ways to learn. And if you've ever tried to learn like a programming language by reading a book, you know that it can be pretty hard to do it that way. So jumping in and learning by doing and having like a goal in mind really is the fastest and most direct way to learn. Plus, it's really exciting to figure out how to do something that no one thought was possible or no one thought was a good idea. So here's another thing I did. I discovered that Adobe Flash had a bug that would allow you to turn on the user's webcam without their permission. So if you look here, make a game where the user just clicks on buttons, and then eventually, after enough clicks, the camera gets turned on. And so what's going on here is that Flash used to have this little settings manager thing, which would load if you went to a certain URL, macromedia.com, something. And on that page, you could configure different settings of the Flash player. But it turns out this page can be iframed. And so if you put it in an iframe, and you make that iframe have an opacity of 0, so it's invisible, and you make the user play a game where they click buttons, you can actually position it so that they give permission to the site to access the webcam. So actually, someone else discovered this, and Adobe tried to fix it. And so after I read that, I was like, did they actually fix this correctly? And I did some more investigation and discovered that what they did was they tried to bust out of the frame if they detected that the thing was in a frame, but they didn't do it correctly. So you could still do the attack, and that's what I did here. And I actually tried to contact Adobe and couldn't get a hold of them, so I just blogged about it, and then it was like all over the news, and then they fixed it in like one day. But anyway, that was fun. Here's another thing. If you go to filldisk.com, I don't know if it works anymore because the browsers might have fixed it, but basically you can just fill up someone's hard drive using web APIs without a permission prompt. The way that works is that the local storage spec says that every sort of origin, I guess, should get 5 megabytes or some amount of space. But it turns out you can create infinite subdomains, and every subdomain gets its own like amount of storage. So if you just make an iframe and you just iterate through subdomains, then you can, and these are free to make, obviously. So you can just fill up their hard drive with pictures of cats. And this is actually kind of like you could say a bug in the spec in a way. And then one more example. So take a look here. This is a bank in America. It's really popular. And if you see you hovering over the link, you see that it says we're going to go to the correct site. So I'm like, oh, this is a link to my bank. Cool, I'm going to click it. So I click it, and it looks like I went to the site, but actually it was just a full screen. I full screened an image of the bank site, and I put an image of the browser UI. So you're still on my site. And if you click, I actually just shake the browser UI to show you that it's not a real UI, and I can put anything I want there. So don't be tricked. See, if you click, I shake it to show you it's not real. I'm in control of it. So I can make it SSL green and make it look good if I want to. So maybe you think you're savvy, you wouldn't fall for this, but a lot of people probably would fall for this. Anyway, I was reminiscing about the days when I used to spend a lot of time looking for these kinds of security issues and trying to do things that surprise people. And I was thinking, wow, I haven't done this in a while, and why haven't I been doing this? And I think it's because I've been focused on building practical things more recently. And it's obviously really valuable to learn practical skills like React and Vue and Angular, or insert your favorite front-end framework here. But And also, like, once you start your career, it's important to keep bringing like value to your team and learning how to write better code, faster code, more reliable code, practical skills. But if you're not careful, I think you can end up spending all your time focused on business things and practical things, and I don't think this is healthy. We forget to spend time exploring and playing. So I believe it's important to write code for fun, and so that's what this talk is about. Hopefully that's okay with all your employers who paid for your tickets. So I was wondering, like, maybe the web itself has gotten more boring. Is the web not fun anymore? Like maybe that's the problem. Maybe so much attention is being given to frameworks and to performance and to testing and all these enterprisey things. But we actually do have a lot of amazing new capabilities that you heard about in other talks here. Like, these APIs are really exciting. In particular, I'm really excited about WebRTC, but also in Martin's talk we heard about WebGL and WebVR, super exciting. Those APIs are actually a really good example of an API that's useful both to business use cases, as he mentioned, but also for having fun, too. So maybe what I am feeling is that the web is too safe these days. Like when I first started surfing the web, there was more danger. Maybe that's what's missing. Do we need more danger to spice things up? Who said yes? Who said yes? Raise your hand. All right, you get a shirt. You get a shirt. Give a shirt to the guy who said yes. Okay, so do you remember when you first logged onto the internet? Remember when browsing the web was an adventure? So, like, in the good old days, we had Internet Explorer, and it came with this really powerful feature called ActiveX. Who remembers ActiveX? Raise your hand. Okay. I thought it would be more people than that. Anyway, but so visiting a web page had some real risk associated with it. You had to watch out for danger. If you clicked the wrong button, it was game over. So take this example. So this is not actually an audio player, even though it looks like it. It's actually a link which, when you clicked, runs native code on your computer. You knew that, right? It's like obvious from the picture, right? So basically, if you clicked it, too bad for you. I think you need a new computer now. Okay, quick side story. So I've been getting a lot of weird spam in my inbox lately. Here's one of the emails. Sock manufacturers from Zhejiang, China, are trying to sell me what they call sublimation socks. I think they just mean that they're printed socks. Anyway, spam wastes so much of my time, so I was thinking, is there some way that I could waste the spammer's time in return? So some people say that the way they do this is they respond to the spam emails and try to lure the spammers into a lengthy conversation that wastes their time. But that would also waste a lot of my time. So what if there was some kind of link I could send them to teach them a lesson, to waste some of their time for revenge? Has anyone felt this way before? Okay, so I started looking around for weird web APIs that might help to make a really annoying web page to send them. I found some weird things, but none were obviously useful for making an annoying site. Maybe Marquee or BG Sound, but that's not particularly malicious. Then I found it. The best APIs for trolling people. Window.moveTo and its friends. So these methods allow you to move and resize a browser window. I thought that there was no way this would be allowed in modern browsers. And when I tried these APIs, sure enough, they didn't work. Because of, this is the reason I think it's because of the same origin policy. So the way I rationalized it is basically you have a browser with 3 tabs, and if this site that I'm on here, NodeFoo, tried to resize the browser window, it would also be resizing Google and Wikipedia. And so that's sort of an information leak across origins, which is a violation of the same origin policy. So it's disallowed. Plus, it would be really annoying if like this site could move around, the whole browser. So there's a solution to this. Open a new window first. If you open a new window with window.open, then you are allowed to move around the window. Here's how you do it. So first you open the window. This API is really weird, by the way. I don't know what the first 2 parameters are. I think they don't not even do anything anymore. So you just pass in empty strings. And then this is also weird. You'd think this would be an object, but it's actually just a string with commas. Very old API. I guess that's why it's like this. And then you can move the window around and resize it. But this actually, even this doesn't work in modern browsers because of pop-up blockers. So we have to open the window in response to a user-initiated event. So something like a click or a key press. So this is what we do. We just put it inside of a click handler, and then now it works. And then here's the magical part. We make it continue moving, and I have a demo of that for you. So let's see if I can get this going. Okay. Okay, so we have a little page here. I'm going to click the button. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You know what? I think I know what's wrong. I think it's not working with multiple monitors, so I'm going to do this. Okay. Why do I have iTunes open? Anyway, okay. All right. There we go. Okay, so we got a window that moves itself. Pretty cool. Pretty useful, right? Take this back to your manager and tell them what you learned at the conference. Okay. So that's not that useful. So let's do a little bit more. So okay, so one thing that's wrong with this demo right now is if I click this button and then I click it again, it doesn't work. So let's just quickly add multiple window support. So I have the code for that here. Basically, we're going to create an array of windows. Can everyone see this, or should I make it bigger? Okay, so we have an array of windows. We listen for clicks. When a click happens, we open a window, we push it into this array, and then when we do the interval, we're going to iterate over every window that hasn't been closed, and then we're going to move that window. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Okay, so we have, now if I click this, we have one window. Okay, I click it again. So we have two windows, but you can't see because it's not focused, so I'm going to tab. Oh, that's the old one from the other demo. Okay, so we have two windows now. Cool. Okay, so that's not, I'm a little annoyed that it's not focusing both of the windows when I click. See, if I go now and I click again, it's only showing me the first one. I have to tab to see them all, so that's not good. Let's bring them all to the front. Okay, so what we do here is now we, in the click handler, we call this function focus windows, and what that does is it just iterates over all the windows and it calls window.focus to focus the window. Okay, cool. Much more useful. So I click again, now we got two, and I click again, now we got three, and they're all in the front. Okay, great. Okay, what's next? Okay, now I want to do something that's maybe useful. I don't know, I just figured maybe we should detect when the mouse is over a window. So to do that, we're going to do something where we actually are going to now, instead of opening up an empty pop-up, we're going to open up the same code as that's running in the parent window in the child window, and we're going to have an if statement that detects if we're running in the parent or in the child. Okay, so if we're running in the child, we're going to add this listener on the mouse move, which is going to detect when the mouse is moving over the child window, and we're going to color the background of the page green. Okay, and then we're also going to do some detection of when the window closes, so we can track that and remove the window from the array in the parent. Not important. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay. Oh, I know what's wrong. Sorry, I had this same problem before. I need to remove the button. Okay. Okay, so now when I click, now if I hover, cool, we get some. So the point of this is just to demonstrate I can actually run code in the child window separately from the parent window, which is going to become useful later. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is, instead of having the parent window move the child windows, that creates a problem, right? Like, I'll show you what the problem is. If I open this up, this window here, and then I close the parent, watch what happens. The child freezes, because the code for moving the window is happening in the parent, right? Let's move that code into the child window. So now we'll have decentralized trolling. Basically, every window has its own code to move itself around, so you can't just close the parent to stop the windows. Okay. So it's pretty simple. We just say in the child window, we will put the move code here, okay? So let's do that. Oh, the button, same problem. Okay, click. Okay, click again. We have 2 windows. Close the parent. They're both moving still. Okay, great. Also, the other thing is these windows also have the click handler, so if I click, they can also have their own children. So, oh, another thing, if you right-click in one of these windows, the right-click menu moves. So, yeah, very nice. Okay, so I have a lot more things to add to this, but I'm going to do it inside the presentation because the code gets a little out of control. Okay, so let's intercept all possible user-initiated events, not just clicks. This is so that no matter what the user presses or taps or whatever they do, we're going to use that as a way to pop up a new window. And that will be allowed because it's considered a user-initiated event. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is just going to mean like they might even hit escape, like get me out of this site, and it's going to open up Windows every time they hit escape. Okay, here's the code to actually open a child window. It's similar to what you saw before. The main thing is we're using the intercept user input function that we wrote before, and so anytime there's user input, we are going to try to stop what the browser would normally do, and we're going to open a window instead. Okay, and this is the code to focus the windows that you saw before. Okay, and this is how we detect when a window closes. This is important just to make sure we update the wins array so we're not trying to run code on closed windows. This is, just really quick, I should mention what window.opener is. So window.opener is a reference to the window that opened the window that this is in. So if window.opener is set, that means that there was a window that opened the current window. And so you can use that to test if you're a pop-up window, for example. And then we can even call functions on that. So like this is saying that if there's a parent window that is not closed, then call onClose window on the parent to tell the parent that we are closed, just so the parent can keep track. Okay, this is a good one. So bounce the window off the screen edges. This is some code that, on an interval, moves the window around and detects when it's hit an edge, and then like Tetrises it off the edges of the screen. We'll see what that looks like in the end. Here's another thing we can do. So play some videos in the window. I got some good ones that I downloaded, and then we just get a random one and we try to autoplay it in the window. Okay, here's another really good one. So I have an array of ASCII cats, and there's an API that lets you copy text onto the user's clipboard. And that doesn't require permission, actually. You only need permission to read from their clipboard, but to add things to their clipboard, all you have to do is do it in response to a user-initiated event, so like a click or something like that. So basically, if they interact with the site at all, they're getting a cat on their clipboard. And we're adding a link to the site. So in case they go into Slack and paste, the site will spread. Okay. Have any of you been on a site and you try to leave and it warns you, like, are you sure you want to leave? So that's sometimes useful for like if you're on Google Docs or something and there's an unsaved change. But it's also pretty annoying when there's no reason for the prompt to come up, so we're going to do that too. Oh, here's a good one. You can register protocol handlers. So that means basically that you're asking the browser to register your website to be the default app that opens up different protocols on the computer. So like mail to is an example. Let's make like this site your default email link handler. Unfortunately for us, the browser shows this in a pretty subtle way in most browsers, and there's a permission prompt. So this isn't going to just take over, all these protocol handlers, but if they do click yes, then it will. So we might as well try, right? Why not? Okay, then again, that's another one that we should just try. Why not? Like, let's try to get the camera and the microphone. So there's a cool thing in here. So once we ask for the camera, if they're silly enough to say yes, or maybe they misclick or something, we're going to you see down here, we're actually going to use this get photo capabilities function, and this lets us turn on what's called what's that sound? Anyway, let's just turn on what's called the torch. The torch is another name for the camera flash. So we just turn on the flash. If they're on a phone, why not? Like, let's see if that works. This one is really great. You can call navigator.vibrate, and it literally vibrates the phone if they're on a phone. And you can set a duration. So, but to make it extra annoying, we make it a random duration. So it doesn't just go zzz, zzz, it goes like zzz, 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 the most annoying possible vibration pattern. Okay, one more thing. Actually, I think I have many more things. Let's use Safari's picture-in-picture feature. What this does is it allows you to have a video playing while you're doing other work on the computer, but we can just trigger it in response to any user interaction again, right? So we need to start a invisible video initially in the page, and we get the video playing, but it's muted and it's invisible. And then as soon as they interact, we unmute it and we tell WebKit to show it as the picture-in-picture video, which means it will hover over all windows on the computer. So I think you're getting a sense of a pattern here. Basically, all these things are powerful, important things for the web platform to have, and they try to sort of restrict them and put them behind a user-initiated event as a sort of way of making sure that the site can't just do these things immediately. But I don't think they were intending that one click could do all of these things at once. And there's more. Okay, let's just turn off their cursor, right? Why not? Make it hard for them to figure out where the X is. That sounds good. Okay, another one. You can actually trigger file downloads. You've probably been to a site where it's like, we're going to download a file 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it says, if the file did not download, click this link to download it or whatever. Turns out you can trigger a file download without user interaction, but only one file. That's how those pages do that. You go to the page with the ads on it, and then it says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, downloads the file. So you can do one download. And then further file downloads that we do need to happen in response to user-initiated events. So we can have a function for triggering a download. And then you just make a link, and then you click it in JavaScript, and that downloads the file. That's actually the canonical way of doing it. Okay, what if they try to close the window with Command W and get off of our site? We can't have that. That's not okay. So let's make a function that shows an alert. So we have basically two types of alerts we can show. Oh yeah, and I should mention, why are we showing alerts? So you can't actually intercept Command W. It's prevented, which makes sense. But what we can do is we can listen for when the Command key is pressed, which is usually what they push when they're doing Command W, right? They start with Command. When they push Command, what if we opened up an alert? What that would do is that would make it so that now the alert is focused, and actually the W doesn't do anything anymore. So they do Command, alert opens, W doesn't close the window. And there's two types of alerts. One is really annoying. It's the print dialog that asks you if you want to print the page you're on, and that can just be opened up without permission. So we randomize. Sometimes we do one, sometimes we do the other. Okay. And then let's, on a regular interval, also just throw up random dialogues, just for fun. Let's also full screen the browser when they click on anything. Let's also log them out of every popular website that they're logged into. This is actually possible. The way this works is these websites, for some reason, have URLs like dropbox.com/logout, which when visited, log you out. And those should really be post requests, not get requests, because a get request can be initiated by any web page. I could embed an image in your page, in my page. I can embed an image in my page and make the source of that image be the logout URL, which is obviously not a valid image, but the browser will still make a get request to that URL with your cookies and log you out. And then no image will show up, but hey, damage is done. Credit for this idea goes to a site called superlogout.com. And this is the code to do it. We do get requests or post requests. I didn't have the code for those in there, but you get the idea. Okay, let's disable the back button so they can't leave. what we do is we say, if the user goes back, we listen for that, and we make them go forward. It works, it's effective. Let's also fill the history with extra entries so that if they try to hold down the back button and see the full drop-down menu of options, we will have it filled with just our site. Let's do some embarrassing searches. So the way this works is we have some searches here in an array. And this code's kind of, it's complicated, but basically the gist is we want to open a pop-up window, and the reason, so we could just make requests to those, to the search page on Bing here, but then it wouldn't get added to your web history. We want it to be in your web history, of course. So what we do is we make a pop-up, and we make it at the top level. That pop-up goes to that URL, then it gets added to your web history. But then the problem is now we can't actually control this window and move it around because it's on a different domain than ours, it's Bing. So what we need to do is, when we want to move the window around, we're going to switch its URL to our site, move it around, and then switch it back to the next Bing search that we're trying to put into your history. So that's what this does. Okay, I think this is my last one before I show you all of this as a demo. This one is pretty subtle. So when you link to a website and you do target equals underscore blank, that will open that link in a new window or a new tab, right? And this is commonly done on sites when they want you to click the link and not leave their website. They want it to open in a new tab. The problem with this is because the way the window.opener API works, the window that was opened in a new tab has its window.opener property set to the window that opened it, right? Even if it shows up in a tab. So that means that, like, if someone links to theannoyingsite.com on Facebook and someone clicks it, a new tab opens to the annoying site. The annoying site has a reference to the Facebook window, and it can navigate the Facebook window to a different URL. So you can say window.opener.location equals whatever, and now the site that they just opened is actually changing the other tab to a different URL. This is possible. Yeah. So we'll do that. Okay, so now let's see a demo of this all put together. Okay. So I have it all online on theannoyingsite.com, so you can try this yourself. Starts out pretty innocent. Let's try doing what it says. Okay, I probably froze my computer. Hope this works. Okay. Okay, so these should be loading videos, but I think there's too many windows. So I'm going to try and close some of these. Oh no, I think it locked up my computer. Okay, let me kill let me kill Chrome really quick. Let's try maybe Safari. Maybe it performs better there. Annoyingsite.com. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to click once. Let's just keep it simple. Okay, so those are file downloads happening in my downloads folder. If I hit escape to close the full screen, turn the volume down a little bit, sorry. Okay, it's saying, do I want to use my camera? Don't allow. Don't allow. Close this window. Close this window. Oh, God. So let me check my downloads folder. It's full of cats. Okay, so I'm going to try Command W. Command W, is this working? It's sort of working. Okay, yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, how much time do I have left? A few minutes? Okay. Okay. 3 minutes. Oh, okay. Gotta go fast. All right. So I sent an email to the spammer, and I told him I was very interested in his socks, and I gave him a link to view. So here's the URL. Don't use it for evil. Okay, I have a couple more demos to show you just extra tricks that you can do with Windows that I think are kind of fun. So what if we have gravity? So I can actually interact with my mouse with this window. So if I put my mouse here, and I can even push it around. I was thinking of making a game with this technique. Might be fun, like some kind of Tetris or Breakout or something. Anyway, okay, and I have one more. Okay, so this one is really mean. I didn't add this to the annoyingsite.com yet, but I may. When you push this one, it creates a window that when you move your mouse around, it follows your mouse. This even works if I close the parent window. So let me just move this parent window out of the way. Okay, now if I move my mouse around, you'll see even though I'm over my text editor, Sublime, it can still follow my mouse. How does it know where my mouse is if I'm off the window? How is it figuring that out? Can anyone guess? What? Yeah, that's right. So actually, I'll show you. I have a slower version. We can see how it works. Okay. So I'm going to go to this version here. This is a slowed down version. So the window moves much slower. So here's what it's doing. So when it finds the mouse, because I moved over the window, it focuses right around the mouse. Okay, so if I move to a new position, it's going to keep following me because obviously it's getting the mouse move event, so it can keep following my mouse, right? But if I escape the window, now it's not getting any mouse move events, so it's like confused. Where's the window? Where's the mouse? So it tries the left side, it tries the right side, and now my mouse was over the window, and now it found it. So even though it wasn't the mouse that moved, it was the window that moved, it's still considered the mouse moving because the window moved under the mouse. So it gets the event. And then you might wonder, what is this going on right here? This back and forth. So if I'm not moving my mouse at all, like right now, then it's not getting any events. So it thinks maybe I lost the mouse. Like it can't distinguish between the mouse being still and the mouse being off the window. So the way it tests this is it goes left off the mouse and then it goes back on the mouse and it says, okay, you're still there. I found you, and stays there. But if I go off the window, right, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to say, oh, maybe the mouse didn't move, so it's going to try that. It's going to try that. It's going to say, oh, the mouse isn't there now. And now it tries the left-right thing again, and now it found it. Anyway, so I think I'm out of time. So I'll just end with this quote from Stuart Brown. Play energizes us and enlivens us. It eases our burdens. It renews our natural sense of optimism, and it opens us up to new possibilities. Thank you.